Wonky perspective can really distract your eye. That house is meant to look like that. Let's start again. Wonky perspective can really distract your eye, and I guess the reason that you're here watching this video is that, like me, you know that feeling only too well, where you've sketched one of your favourite buildings only to find that a crooked angle or an uneven window ledge makes the whole sketch look completely off. And in this video I'm going to break down perspective and make it simple and manageable so that you can apply it to your own sketches and make them look more believable. And you can then choose when you want to bend the rules rather than accidentally breaking them. So first of all, what is perspective? Well, perspective is the way that we convey three-dimensional objects onto two-dimensional flat surfaces, such as the page of your sketchbook. And the way that we do that is by depicting objects as smaller and closer together the further away from us they recede into the distance. Like these beach huts that look as if they're getting smaller the further away from us they get. And also how the bars of the railing appear to get closer together. And that's the trick to getting it right and making it look believable. How do we measure how much smaller and how much closer together do they get? Everything revolves around the vanishing point or points. So the first thing we need to find out is, how do we find our vanishing point? And then we'll look at how it helps us and how we actually use it. Well, if you look at this picture of a cycle path, it appears to get narrower and the lines look as if they meet somewhere in the distance. And that somewhere in the distance is our vanishing point. Of course, we know the lines don't really meet, they're parallel. And if we looked at it from directly above, we'd see that. Lines that are parallel with each other converge to the same vanishing point. But where is the vanishing point? How do we find it, and how does it help us? Well, it's on the horizon line. As we know, the horizon is where the sky meets the land or sea. And I mention the sea because that's where it's more likely that you can actually see the horizon. If we're in the middle of a town, which is where we're likely to be if we're urban sketching, you probably can't see the horizon because the buildings, the ones that you're actually drawing, are in the way. But the horizon will be at eye level, so sometimes it helps to call it that. If I'm sitting down, my eye level and therefore my horizon line will be lower than if I'm standing up, or if I'm looking out of the window of a tall building. A way that we can spot where the horizon line or eye level line is to look at the angles of the buildings. For example, look at the top of the roof line and how it angles down. Now look at the curb and how it angles up. Lines that are above our eye level slope downwards. And lines that are below our eye level slope upwards. And guess where they meet? They intersect with the horizon line, meeting at the vanishing point. So this is where my eye level was, or where the camera lens was when this photo was taken, and look at how all the parallel lines fan out from that one point. And if the street was completely parallel, then the houses on the opposite side would also share that vanishing point. But let's not overcomplicate things for now, and let's just keep it simple in this video. But notice how they all fan out from the vanishing point. And the closer to our eye level that they are, the flatter they get. So if you look at this line up here near the top of the building, you can see that it's much steeper than this one down here that lines up those two window ledges that are level, which is lower down the building and closer to our eye level. If you extend the line from the window bar on the right window across to the window bar on the left window, you can see that's pretty much horizontal, and that makes sense because that is about where my eye level is. You can see that by the height of the door. Let's extend the lines on this photo here so that we can find our vanishing point, which puts it about here, and that makes sense because these people are standing up and I was sitting down. I am also slightly downhill here too, but again, let's not overcomplicate things at the moment. So how does that actually help us? Well, if I stand a bit more in front of the house, so at a bit less of an angle, we can spot all of the parallel lines, the tops and bottoms of windows, the roof line, and we now know that everything that's parallel will converge to the same vanishing point. So when we start to draw the house, all we need to know is where our vanishing point is, which we can now work out, and put one of the lines in, and we can then make sure that all our other lines are in the correct place in relation to that line. I've marked up two of the parallel lines, one near the top and one further down, so that I can see where my vanishing point is. So I'm just going to do a very rough drawing just to show you how I would put into practice what we've just learnt in theory. So if we take that top line, the top of the front of the house, the top of the fascia if you like, and we eyeball that. So I'm going to just put a mark on my page, and that's my first angle. Now if I extend that down to here somewhere, I know that first angle, and I know my vanishing point is over here somewhere. So as soon as I've got that first angle in, I can then get all the rest right. So let's draw this nearest vertical wall to us. And the bottom of this wall is going to go to our vanishing point because it's on the same parallel as that. I probably made it a little bit too low, so pretend that bit's not there. Okay, so we'll extend that to our vanishing point, and then we'll draw this wall here. So we're going to leave space for 3 windows. This is not going to be the world's best drawing. I'm just explaining how to use it. So we will then go from that line to that line, and we've now got the front of our house. Now I want to draw in this line here that goes above the tops of the 3 windows. So it's going to go about this high up. So again, I'll draw the line in loosely just so that you can see it. It's just going to fan out from there. Let's draw the top of the front door, which would be about, that's my eye level, so it's going to be a bit higher than that, so about here. So let's fan that out. The bottoms of the windows, one of them's a little bit higher, the one in the middle is a little bit higher, but just roughly, so about this height here. And we'll make this middle one a bit higher when we get to it. These 2 window bars, as we said, that's pretty much horizontal. And we can't see much around here because there's quite a lot of bushes and things. But now we can draw in that window. This window is a little bit higher, so fan out from here. And then this one is back down to this line. But you get the idea. And you might be saying, well, I don't really want to draw all these lines all over my sketchbook. And I can understand that, but it's one of those things that the more you do it, the more natural it will become. And you'll be able to spot the lines without actually needing to draw them in. But it is a good idea, like anything, to practice it and actually draw the lines in, maybe at home at first. Now, obviously, what's on this right-hand side is going to a different vanishing point. So I'm not going to worry about that for this video. It's basically doing the same thing, but it's going to have a vanishing point over here. So as soon as you've got your first line in and you know more or less where your horizon line, your vanishing point is, you can just get all the rest in the right place in relation to that. So if I quickly add some pen to that, you can see that perspective and proportion wise, we've got a pretty convincing drawing of that house. And while you're getting used to doing it, if you want a quick way to help you while you're out and about and you have a smartphone, you can use the markup tool on the iPhone photo app. I'm not sure where it is on Android, sorry, but you can just faintly draw the lines in there to help you. Another trick that can really help you if you're drawing something like the apexes of roofs in perspective is to find where the centre is. So do that by drawing across from corner to corner, and that will give you the centre line, and then you can just add the apex of your roof that way. And with regards to the distance between repeating objects, such as the verticals on this railing, I'm not going to go into that here, but there is actually a way to calculate that accurately, and I'm going to put that up in another video if you're interested in knowing how to do that. And one final thing to bear in mind, if you're drawing people, assuming everyone's of sort of similar height and you're standing up on a flat surface, everyone's eyes will more or less line up. Next time you're in a crowd, have a look and see what I mean. Don't be tempted to dot their heads up and down, but if you're drawing people who are in the foreground, they're bigger, and people in the distance will be smaller, but their eyes will more or less, apart from giants and children obviously, but their eyes will more or less line up. I hope that's been useful and made it clear, and that you're now able to apply that to your own sketches. If you have found it useful, please do give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. It's completely free, but it really helps the channel. Thanks for watching.